Hey everybody, producer Pat here bringing you some holiday cheer on this Christmas Eve. Let's get back into the news story, starting with this one about the 2024 presidential race. A new poll finds that a majority of Americans don't want to see Donald Trump run for president again, but also a majority of Americans, they don't want to see Joe Biden run for president again either. The poll comes to us from Echelon Insights, and the results are that 55% of respondents don't want to see Donald Trump seek the presidency again in 2024, and that's great news, right? But also, statistically just as many, 54% of respondents, they say that they don't want to see Joe Biden run again as well. Now, on the approval side, when you flip the question and ask, do you want Trump to run? Do you want Biden to run? There does seem to be more support for Trump running than Biden. 39% give Trump the go-ahead, whereas only 34% say the same thing about Biden. So the question is, 3 years out from the next presidential race, is this cause for concern for Democrats? I think part of this is that Americans are saying they want to see new faces. You know, if Trump runs again, this will be his third attempt. He's been nonstop in the political atmosphere ever since 2015. Biden, he's been in the Senate forever, and then he was vice president. He ran a bunch of different presidential campaigns, and then, of course, now he is the president. So, you know, it's just time to see some new people here. We're sort of sick of these guys, and we don't want to see an exact repeat of the 2020 election after all. And part of this also is the fact that they are quite up there in age, right? If Trump gets elected in 2024, he's going to be 78 by the time he's elected and 82 by the time he leaves office. And if Joe Biden gets reelected, he's going to be 82 at the start of his second term and 86 by the time that he's out of office. And we know that, of course, people now are living longer lives these days, and you can have elderly people who are capable of doing the job, but some may say 80s, that's kind of pushing it. Maybe we need some younger blood in there. But I think this really comes down to, at the end of the day, the most important factor in all of this is that the hardcore Trump people, who make up somewhere between 35 to 40%, unfortunately, of the country, they want him no matter what, right? They don't care about Ted Cruz. They don't care about Nikki Haley. You know, maybe Ron DeSantis is okay, but only as a backup option if Trump doesn't want to run. And so that's, I think, why we're seeing the numbers show that 39% of people say they do want Trump to run. Those are the hardcore Trump supporters. Whereas there's people who support Joe Biden, but they don't have the same sort of cult of personality view of him, right? Biden doesn't have this sort of appeal that Trump does among his base of supporters. Biden's approval rating right now is in the low to mid 40s, which is not great. It's also not terrible. But the number who wants to see him run again is, again, 34%, which is substantially lower than what his approval number is at. So that suggests to me that there's a good amount of people who are saying, yeah, I like what Biden's doing, but he's replaceable, right? Like if you give us Kamala Harris, if you give us Pete Buttigieg or Elizabeth Warren or whoever else, we'll like them too, because at the end of the day, it's more about the cause than the person. And then also, in addition, you don't have to worry about the age factor. You don't have to worry about age or fitness or anything like that. So that's my takeaway. The Trump people are wrapped up in the cult of Trump, and the Biden people don't care about Biden specifically. They just want to move the causes forward. And I think there's a real question whether Biden will run again, mainly because of the age factor. I think that if he chooses not to run again, obviously there will be a primary in the Democratic field. There's a possibility that Kamala Harris, being the vice president, she gets that coronation treatment that Hillary Clinton got back in 2016. Hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully we get some progressive challengers in there to make it not so easy of a fight for her. But ultimately, if Biden chooses to run again, he'll get the nomination. And I think Trump is definitely running again also. I mean, he's dropping all these hints as to how he's going to launch another campaign. I know some people like Michael Cohen, for example, he's saying, including on the show, he said, I don't think that Trump is going to run again because he's terrified of losing for a second time. He doesn't want to be seen as a two-time loser, and the excuse of voter fraud, if he does lose, isn't going to work again. But I just don't buy that. Like, first of all, I think that if Trump does run again, he's going to have a substantial chance at winning. I think he's actually going to get better odds of winning than he did in 2016 or 2020. And if he does lose, then he'll just tell his voters, yeah, it was voter fraud. And they're already primed to believe the voter fraud stuff. They'll just say, like, okay, well, they got us again, those Democrats rigging their elections. So, you know, I don't think Trump is really worried about anything there. It's sort of a heads I win, tails you lose sort of scenario where either he wins the presidency or he just says once again that he got cheated. So the bottom line is most Americans don't want to see Trump run again. Most Americans don't want to see Biden run again. And yet there's still a halfway decent shot that we see yet another Trump-Biden matchup, a repeat of the last election cycle in 2024.
One of our sponsors is called Privacy. Privacy is a totally free service that I've been using for years. Privacy lets me create virtual payment cards with one click, and when I use the virtual card, the money is taken out of my bank account. You can create multiple cards, delete them, freeze them, set a spending limit on them. Let's say I'm signing up for a free trial and it requires a credit card. Privacy will autofill a virtual card number, and then after signing up, I can delete that virtual card, so I know I'm not going to be charged again. Something really useful and very practical. Or let's say I'm ordering food over the phone, but I left my wallet somewhere. I don't have my real credit card on me. I can use a virtual card on my Privacy mobile app. But really the best part is you're not out there exposing your real credit card number, so you're not as susceptible to data breaches and identity theft. Privacy is a totally free service, and you'll get $5 to spend when you go to privacy.com/Pakman. The link is right underneath this video.